something else that is not that thing? Wouldn't there have to
No.
be something that is not Brahman for us to discover what, if anything, Brahman is?
Why?
No.
Why? Tell me why.
No, because
Yeah.
because
Okay, wait,
no, because
why?
Brahman no, because Brahman is everything that includes yourself. So this is something that is internally discoverable.
But why don't things have similar actions to me if they're of a similar essence? There are dogs that bark, but I don't bark. Not Brahman for me, because of different actions. Don't we discover whether something is the same or not the same as something else based off of its action partially?
You could say that things are somewhat similar to you. I mean, there are things that are living, there are things that, have some properties that are some. I mean, like I was saying earlier, everything is made of atoms. I mean, they're similar to you in that way. Things are made of energy. They're similar to you in that way if you want to go down to like that level.
I
Yeah,
mean,
if you're a physicalist, everything is made of energy. So like what's the difference between saying
Amen.
everything is energy and everything's Brahman?
well, I think that even physics has taken some of these Far East concepts in a way, and they have given us some good science, some kind of, gobbledygook mush with some of the quantum, stuff. But the thing is, I guess the question is, will everything maintain its separation or be united ultimately? Or will the separation be maintained? That's the ultimate question. Because even if everything, say, is Brahman, we appear to be in a separated state of non Brahmanness that may be
Mhm.
maintained forever if you're like a theist Christian like I am. It appears that God did make things that are going to be eternally separate from him on some level. So I guess my main, criticism is that even though everything might be Brahman, there appears to be a level of separation that appears to be maintained eternally, even if
Mhm.
everything is ultimately the same substance or not. So saying that everything's Brahman is kind of meaningless if separation is going to be maintained, isn't it?
No, I don't believe so. I
You should
believe
bring up
that
Maya.
if
Maya.
my illusion.
Yeah, that's what G.I. Juke brought up many times. I sounded like he kept saying Aya, but Maya.
So
No, it
you
just
think
means
that
to
this
contrast
separation
Rama. You can use Maya.
So you don't think this
God, no,
separation is going to be maintained? You don't think God is going to maintain being holy, say, versus separated from things that are unholy? You think we're just going to mash
Yeah.
together ultimately?
Well, no, I think that in death is being united with Brahman. Just, I mean, most Christians believe that somehow in death you become united with God in some way.
Hmm.
But oh yeah, what Lucky Me was saying is that there is separation. Like I believe that that there is that we do separate illusion from Brahman in the sense of that there is a sense. I mean, not that everything is Brahman, but we do separate illusion from what is what is real and what is illusion. So we do need to use like mental faculties to separate like what is illusory from what is real. That we do need to realize that we are Brahman. That's the point of Advaita Vedanta is the recognition that we are Brahman. That's what my practice is for. Is that we're under that there's a veil of ignorance that separates us from the reality that we are divine. And that's what why we practice adharmic actions. That's why we act unrighteously, is because we don't realize that we are Brahman.
So we are divine. That means that
Yes.
we can create like
And we do create.
Brahman does?
I mean, in the sense that we, that we not in this, that we can create things, but we are divine in the sense that we have consciousness.
Why do we need to go back to Brahman then? Because if we're Brahman and Brahman split to become us, why couldn't we go the other direction? If we're
Well, all
Brahman,
things
why
are
don't we
Brahman.
make something that splits from us and has to come back to us but no further? why do we have to go back to Brahman? Couldn't we make things that have to return back to us but no further?
Oh no, I mean all things are Brahman, because Brahman, what else was there to create things but Brahman? What else was there to make things of but him?
Is Brahman a concrete many or a concrete one?
It could be both. I think that's the thing Darth is stuck on, is he goes, every god is a oneness, necessarily a totalizing, outbound
I'm
thing.
asking that. Is Brahman is a concrete one or a concrete many?
I don't know what that means.
Doesn't
All
it
is
depend
Brahman.
on how you
Okay.
look at it?
Okay, either your god Brahman is a concrete one, or he's a concrete many.
I don't think that's a yes or no question.
Well, actually, yeah, it is. In classical Hinduism, Brahman is a concrete one. That's why in Hinduism they teach distinctions are illusory; they're Maya, because the manyness is not a concrete manyness.
Okay. If you say so.
Well, I was just asking because if we have to go back to Brahman, that implies a certain directionality, but that's a kind of unexpected if we're Brahman, because Brahman was there, we split from him. If we're Brahman, why can't something split from us and go back to us? Why does the directionality have to be back to Brahman? Why
We
can't
don't.
it be back to
We
us?
don't. I'm sorry. We don't split from Brahman.
Okay, then what made it so that we're in this illusory state of reality? Why was there a split or whatever?
There's a veil of ignorance between us and Brahman, just because we're humans.
I'm still waiting for an answer to my question.
Oh, sorry.
Kat.
Well, big deal.
That's crazy, bro.
I thought you already gave me the answer.
I'd like to know, in your worldview, is Brahman a concrete one or not?
I thought you already told me what the answer was in Hinduism.
Okay. Is that what you believe?
You told me what the answer was, and I said, okay.
Is that
if you
what
say so.
you believe?
You told her what the answer was.
Yeah, I accepted your answer and moved on.
Okay. Well, then, as GI said earlier, you destroy your ability to make distinctions. Distinctions are not real, and you can't predicate.
Okay. I'm going back to the other conversation now.
Kat, would you say that your
So basically,
idea of
what you're
Brahman
doing
is
is you're
Christian
completely
God?
running away. You're completely running away from a total
And what
defeater
Darth's
of
doing
your
is
I'm
position.
going on to the other
Yeah,
conversation now.
thank you for muting. Yeah, what you're
Darth,
just simply
reverse
doing is
psychology doesn't work on her.
Okay.
I don't
I'm
want to
not
talk
using
to you,
reverse
Darth. I want to go
psychology.
back to the other conversation.
Of course, you don't want to talk to me because I'm pointing out.
I don't want to talk to you, Darth. Darth, I don't want to talk to you.
If you say that Brahman, a concrete one, then
Darth, I don't want to talk to you,
cannot
Darth.
predicate,
this is what's
because
happening.
if you
Roll,
persist,
everybody, including you, Darth, please, just 1 second. Right, Darth, you can make your point, and then Kat can go on and say something that she wants to say.
I don't want to talk to Darth.
That's fine. He's going to finish his point.
Nobody's putting.
I don't want him to. I don't want to talk to him.
Nobody's putting a gun to your head, and you don't need to whine and squeal. Okay. The fact of the matter is, you're just contradicting yourself, because on the one hand,
perfectly
you
valid
acknowledge
to
that.
not want to
Okay,
engage
would you mute Damon? Okay, he has trolled yesterday. He's trolling again today. Just mute him. Okay. This is what the trolls do. Here we go. Here we go again. If you don't put your foot down, Foxy, they're just going to nonstop troll, because they're
Foxy, don't let this authoritarian.
We mute them all if they're interrupting.
Right, just mute them. Okay, thank you. Right, this is what they do. Okay, now, so Kat just simply wants to turn a blind eye to a straightforward contradiction in her position. She acknowledges and she agrees. Would you mute the? Thank you. So, these are the same kind of people who say they believe in free speech. They claim that they want an open intellectual discussion. But when somebody like myself enter in, they troll, to try to shut down the conversation. Now, Kat is completely turning a blind eye to a point that renders her whole worldview incoherent. So rather than deal with it, she just simply ignores it and just continues on with her cognitive dissonance. If Brahman is a concrete one and distinctions are an illusion, but you keep on making verbal distinctions because you'll have to in order to predicate, then you're just spewing fiction, because those distinctions in classical Hinduism, where Brahman is a concrete one, they simply do not exist.
But Darth, is Brahman akin to the Christian God in any like, kind, or manner if he's a oneness?
Michael, go take your meds, okay?
Is that all you got?
I mean,
is that all you have as your answer? Is Brahman, the way she's described it, akin to the Christian God in any way? Please discuss. No, not at all. So the oneness that you say is of Brahman is not a oneness of the Christian God. You're saying the Christian God is not a oneness, but Brahman, she's confused, right? So there's a kinness, something similar.
Look, this is what's going to happen, right? Obviously, he's asked you a question, Darth. If you want to answer it, that's fine. If Cat
he'll run away. He'll run.
She'll just go on. She'll just go on in her cognitive dissonance. That's all. She doesn't care. That's why her worldview.
Have you shut up yet?
She herself is irrational. She doesn't care about the internal contradiction.
It's interesting that you care so much about other people's worldviews, but don't listen at all to them.
We don't.
Well, we can learn from
Michael. We've done that. Darth, you've done your criticism of Cat. That's fine, and I agree with you. Loki asked you a question. Do you want to answer it?
Hold on. What happened to Cat?
I did answer it. I said there's no correspondence between the God of Christianity and in Brahman. In the God of Christianity, there is what is called the creator-creature distinction. In classical Hinduism, where Brahman, there is no creator. Okay, would you mute him? Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, fuck.
And if anybody cat calls, interrupts, just mute them and then don't unmute them, because if you just unmute them right away, they'll just continue to do it, right?
Okay, there's the creator distinction because Cat wants to go after. You know what I mean? So
there is no creator-creature distinction within Hinduism. There is within biblical Christianity. So the two worldviews are completely incompatible with each other.
Well, the main thing I wanted to point out was there appeared to be a directionality to this Brahman thing. That to me is a key distinction, because we go back to Brahman. But if we're Brahman, why can't something go back to us? That's what I'm wondering.
I think now's the perfect time for Kat to get in if she wants. I guess she left. So yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah,
guys.
she's Brahmin. She's Brahmin.
Yeah.
So I guess Brahman is just this state that everybody can participate in, as opposed to an ontological thing to return to. And that's fine, but I don't know if everything can participate in this Brahman or not. There are so many different actions, beings participate in, some of which we can become partakers of, like a bird can fly. I can't, not without an airplane. So how am I going to be assured that we're going to be in this state of Brahman that everything can share when there are all these different actions that things do participate in and things don't participate in? How do I know? I guess I just can't have faith that we're all Brahman when things appear to be very distinct here on this plane of existence. I just don't know if I can do that.
It's worse than that, because if you just simply embrace it, then it's just incoherent. You cannot predicate. And those people who continue to predicate, they're simply contradicting their worldview.
It's hard to predicate it like, trying to tell somebody else, all is Brahman. The other person will still be like, well, how do I know? How do I know that what you're predicating this on is true? Ideally.
This is just why logic. This is why first order logic did not develop in the East. Because the systems, like Eastern systems, are notoriously just contradictory gibberish.
You're saying you can't predicate because predicates are Brahman.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That is exactly right.
I don't understand that. That just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, to predicate something, you need to have information in the sentence that allows you to take it clearly
to predicate in the first place.
Once you make a distinction, which is what a predicate must require. It must require something that is not the subject. It must require a property of the subject or something like that. Then you're just contradicting this interpretation of Hinduism.
And you also need to be able to take clearly defined actions. A predicated sentence has, like you say, a subject and a verb that can take clearly defined actions that the subject is, ideally capable of to discover the truth value of the statement. You say, I don't know, the house is over there, or that implies that you can walk over to the house and discover that it's there, not that you have to go to another dimension to find it or something.
JJ, it's just real simple. If you hold the view that every single possible thing is literally in reality just one thing, then predicates are in fact just that one thing as well.
True.
So I hear that, and honestly, I don't understand that either. It seems like, I'm not a Hindu.
It's how you first order predication, second order predication, I guess. I don't know.
But there's a sense in which I hear what they're saying, and if everything is Brahma, predicates are also Brahma. But I think to attack that is kind of silly also.
Well, like a statement like the sky is blue has implicit in it.
Here, one second, Chad. Because say my view is that something is like something like everything is energy, which would include predicates, but that's not actually what I mean. When I say everything is energy, I don't mean predicates are energy also. Although, I don't know, maybe in some way you could say that, but that's not what I'm referring to.
In your views, then you have real and actual distinctions. That's all that means.
Like the Christian God, the overgod, and Satan are two separate things. Like Brahma and Maya are two separate things.
Right.
Well, take the statement, the sky is blue. Implicit, without even having to state it in the sentence directly, is look at the sky, it is blue. Implicit even more in that is look at the sky, it will make an impression on your eyes that it's blue, that will match this other blue object, that will match this other blue object. That's all implicit in the sky is blue. If you say all is Brahman, what actions can I take to figure out if this is true? What can I do to predicate this? Do I touch Brahman? Does it have a shape? Does it
How does this
have
apply to
certain
God the
activities?
Father?
How do I know? There's no action that I can take to know this except just feeling it. And I felt things that are untrue and false, and true and false before, so that's not good enough.
How is that not akin to finding God the Father in Christendom, Cesis?
Well, the implicit predicates off of the Christian faith are, God's word is say in the Bible. Implicit in that is these prophecies have taken place. This history is accurate. This reveals God's will. If you do this, you won't go to hell. Or
so there's a
you'll
corresponding narrative of text that you're following, and or a personal prayer mode, something like that. That's why I asked Darth, like, how are these the same? How are these not the same? Brahma and Maya, God the Father and Satan, something like that.
Clear action can be taken to figure out whether this is true or false. That's the difference.
And what is a clear action?
It's just a feeling. And frankly, that feeling could be demonic possession, self-deception. There's no way to know without clear actions to delineate what to do or what not to do to figure out if this is true or false.
A weirdly childish way to look at the world. Wow.
It's just cutting to the chase. I ascribe to Western logic. I'm a bit aggressive in my take. I do like how the Far East lets things be, but at the same time, you need to dig through all of the confusion with maybe a direct Western logical attitude sometimes.
See, I think the West is predicated on judgment, where the East is predicated on being subsumed into the oneness of God or in Brahma. And that's a distinction.
It is a key distinction. But, there could be slavery in the collective that way. What if you want to break free? What if you want to find something else other than what this collective oneness has to offer? What if the collective is wrong?
You should ask the Mormons that.
that should be applied to every single theology, though, that question.
Yeah.
At least in the West, clearly delineated actions are possible, even though it's falling under communism even now and hive mind collectivism. But at least clearly delineated actions are possible to figure out whether something is true or false.
Well, notice how Darth came in asking if Brahma was one or many, right? Because the idea of oneness, a totalizing oneness that is referenced as the Trinity or God the Father in the West, right, as opposed to a pantheon of ultimate gods, let's say, in some Hindi sect that are maybe subsumed by the name Brahma. Just the name Brahma means a pluricity, right? So then the question
Jesus means
has
God, the Father means God, the Spirit, right?
Right. So even, I mean, the Christendom has they start with the triad as a mini right out of the gate, where the pantheon to you ardent Christians is you eschew it, you push it away, even though it's roughly, so basically you guys can have your cake and eat it too. Your God the Father can both be one or it can be many, meaning the Christian God, right? The Brahma God, he's asking, is it many or is it one? Because if the answer is many, he's going to conveniently shit on it. But that's Darth's thing, is convenience to shit and mute.
But this many comes from an accurate understanding of the Bible and trying to harmonize the events of the Bible as things that actually occurred. It's not from a philosophical take that just tries to dissolve everything into a oneness, saying that these distinctions that we make are illusions and ultimately everything's one. It's not a philosophical, dictate. It is a historical take on the Bible that says Jesus appears to be referring to himself in a fairly godlike way, along with, God the Father and the Holy Ghost or whatever. It appears to be a doctrinal take that harmonizes the Bible and, its mentionings, its historical facts as, actual. It's a doctrine that tries to harmonize the Bible, not to harmonize philosophy.
Right, but okay, so then it's an appeal to this harmony amongst these things. You find a space where there's this harmony. A Hindi might find amongst a pantheon, a mini, a type of harmony. If you like every time we're in these rooms and we're not bringing up Hinduism, you guys are often talking about the matrix or solipsism or something that is not deniable or something that you might have to deny if you're a brain in a vat. Well, that seems like an ongoing trend. And so the Maya Brahma distinction, the illusionary empirical world, the world of appearances, or even in Western philosophy, the noumenal phenomenal distinction, right? That's kind of a parsing down that same lines as I see it. Excuse me.
Sounds like he's got a phone call, but I guess the appeal of the Western aggressive logic would be, okay, how are we going to figure out if we're in a brain in a vat? We need clear facts with clear distinctions. And I feel like that's a bit of an appeal over, say, melding into everything being one, where, ultimately, I don't know if you can really figure out much of anything else.
Physicist, let me ask you about the process in which you would figure out if whether or not you were a brain in a vat. Is that the same process? And maybe you could just walk through it a little bit. How you would determine that you're not a vat in a brain?
First, faith would be a thing. I would have to have faith in what I am ultimately. But if I wanted to go beyond faith, I need to figure out the name of the person who made me a brain in a vat, who cut out my brain, what factory manufactures the vat, all of that.
The question was, how would you determine, and is it the same method that you would determine that you're not a vat in a brain?
I'm not a vat in a brain, well, with clear categories. I'd need to see a vat in a brain act and be capable of similar actions that I'm capable of. If it is not, then it is dismissed.
You would have to see a vat in a brain act to determine whether or not you were a vat in a brain.
I would have to. Otherwise, I would have no way of knowing. There would need to be some sort of product, a token, some way that I know that it is capable of similar actions to me. If a vat never acts, never speaks in my entire life ever, it's going to be deemed absurd. Even if it is true, I have no way of knowing it.
So you'd have to see. Wow. All right. Never mind. Thank you.
Do you have a better way? Because ultimately, we have to have faith.
Yeah, I
be
think
it
so.
in Brahmin or whatever. We do have to have faith, but I need a demonstration. You know, if I don't see a demonstration of a vat in a brain, it's going to be dismissed by me.
I'm just trying to think of all the other things that you would just dismiss because you hadn't seen them.
Yeah. Well, if I
It's mind
have
blowing.
that faith, but if I have to have faith in something, that's fine. I need to see things that are leading up to the faith. Like a person like God speaking and talking is fine because I've seen people do similar. And people with similar, arms and legs and brains do that. So something like that with God is very possible. But a vat talking, there's no analog for that. None.
It's like so weirdly specific the dialect gets, right?
Well, it helps dig through confusion, and it helps guide clear action. That's another thing.
I think it's fostering confusion, and I applaud it. Thank you.
Well, if it guides clear action, that's something to say about the truth. Because if it can't guide clear action, it's meaningless. So I'm a brain in a vat. How do I know? Can I touch my brain? Can I touch the vat? Can I touch the electro oil that keeps me alive, the electro fluid? Can I talk to the manufacturer? Can I talk to the scientist that did this? Can I go to the real world where my brain is housed?
You're assuming that there would be a scientist that did this, or that there is. Would you say electro something or other?
Yeah, he's just making a bunch of assumptions that would have to be like it's Futurama or something.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very
in Futurama, it's like a whole head, so they had like other sensory perceptions that they could use.
Jimmy, you understand? That's why I asked the questions slightly differently about being a vat in a brain.
Well, the thing is, we also predicate this off of the mind appearing to be a passive vessel. It takes in sense perception from an outside world and then properly assimilates it. That's what we call sanity. So if I'm seeing this Futurama scenario that sounds a lot like Futurama, I'm going to go out on a limb on faith and say they probably
that he's trying to say that virginity is better than not being a virgin. That's simply not true. Because if you know Bible verses so much, you would know that that God tells people to wait until you're married to then have sex.
Well, it seemed to be
That's right, holy matrimony.
Seemed to be getting far away from the point that I guess he was making earlier that if a woman is raped and she's part of a church, that the church is going to shame her somehow.
Yeah, that was his original claim, and I'm just trying to.
Yeah, well, what planet is he living on?
Yeah, that's basically what he said.
That's insane.
No, he had pointed to some verses in the Bible to where he believes that it shows that a woman being raped would somehow lessen her value, and then he tried to extrapolate from that to where some churches might imply that women who are raped are less valuable.
Like, what was those scriptures that reference you had again? Read it for us.
Hey, give me a second.
You just had it like.
Okay, so it's Deuteronomy 22, and it would be in the 28 through 30. So, or 28 through 29. So it would be if a man happens to meet a virgin who is not pledged to be married and rapes her, and they are discovered, he shall pay her father 50 shekels of silver. He must marry the young woman, for he has violated her. He can never divorce her as long as he lives.
What translation are you reading from?
Let's see. This one, I believe, is the New International Version. Which one would you like?
Of course, that's a piece of garbage. Okay?
Which one would you like? Pick it.
Okay. The New American Standard. Okay. The New International Version is known for paraphrasing. Okay.
So, okay, then if a man finds a girl who is a virgin, who is not engaged, and seizes her and lies with her, and they are discovered, then the man who lay with her shall give the girl's father 50 shekels of silver.
The word "seize" there in the Hebrew. Yes. Okay, in the Hebrew, it actually means it takes hold of her. Okay, the word "seizes her." Okay, carries with it that English translation is unfortunate. It carries with it the idea that there's a forced relationship of rape. This is not talking about forcible rape. Okay, the only kind of rape that you might get out of this would be kind of like a kind of statutory rape. Okay, but this is how sloppy you atheists are. Okay, because you don't thoroughly investigate the Greek, the Hebrew. You don't look into what various commentators who have been studying these languages and these books to see what they have to say about that. Did you actually Google what various commentators online have said about this passage?
Hello.
Yes.
Is this better?
Oh, and did they say the same thing that I saw? What you read? Did they say what I told? And when I say commentators, I don't mean critics of the Bible. I mean people who are sympathetic to the Bible. Did you go to any of those sites to see what they said?
So yes, I have gone to the sites. The sites I've found were saying that this was the way of the times. This is how this was the most protective way to a woman.
Did they say that verse 28 is specifically talking about a forced rape?
Yes.
Okay, could you give me what was the link to this? What was the site?
Let me go find it. I didn't come in here the whole day. It's fine. I'll get my quotes together.
I don't actually believe you. Okay, and you know why?
Okay.
It's because atheists have a track record of cherry picking verses either out of context, and also out of context of other passages that are in the Pentateuch, right? And they don't carefully see what commentators have said about what the passage says, what it means, what its context is, what the original language grammar and syntax is. Okay, this passage is not talking about rape. And even the New American Standard, which is one of my favorite translations, when it says seizes, it just simply means it's a euphemism. He takes hold of her. This is talking about a sexual seduction. This is not talking about rape.
Okay, so
do you know what?
Hold up.
Do you know why I know that? It's because rape elsewhere in Deuteronomy is punishable by death.
Hold up. Can I just point out one thing here? So the issue is the way we got to this point in the discussion was the issue of the value of virginity. Strictly, that's how we got here. I pointed to this verse. This verse is saying, okay, even given that it's not rape, why is it now the fact that she must marry him? Why couldn't it be simply that's okay. The father didn't allow it. She can still be married to anyone else. Why is that important?
Because God is in a covenant relationship with the nation of Israel. Okay, and He has laid down rules and guidelines for the ultimate benefit of everyone. Okay, what you are doing is you are trying to evaluate God's covenant with the Jewish people and His purposes for them. Okay. From a modern pagan, and I'll even say what do you call? I'm trying to think.
It's trying to retroactively apply today's standards.
Hold on. You're taking a modern pagan and even a hedonistic look, and I don't mean that as a put down to you. Okay, Western civilization, and including in America, we have become incredibly hedonistic.
Oh,
so
it's no put down. I am a hedonist.
Okay, good. Well, see, then why am I not surprised that you're taking this? Now, if you look at a couple of verses before, in verse 25, okay, did you read a couple of verses before?
Yes.
Okay, so let's start with verse 23, okay? If there is a girl who is a virgin betrothed to a man, and another man finds her in a city and sleeps with her, then you shall bring them out to the gate, and you shall stone them to death, because she did not cry out for help. Okay, what this is referring to is that she is a willing participant. Okay, so what we have here is if she's a woman, she's betrothed, but she's not married, but she doesn't cry out, but she's a willing participant, then the both of them are to be executed. Okay, then we go to okay, then you shall bring them out by the gate of the city, you shall stone them to death. The girl, because she did not cry out for help, though she was in the city, and the man, because he violated his neighbor's wife, so you shall eliminate the evil from among you. So God's attitude toward sexual contact outside of marriage is against his purposes and his covenant relation with Israel, and he deems that to be evil. Okay, and we go to verse 25. But if the man finds a girl who is betrothed in the field, and the man seizes and rapes her, then only the man. Okay. Now, if a man finds the girl who is betrothed in the field, and the man seizes her and rapes her, then only the man who raped her shall die, and you are not to do anything to the girl. Okay. So what this passage is referring to is a forcible rape. Okay. Now, when it says seizes, again, it's the Hebrew word meaning to take hold of. It is a euphemism where they come together in terms of physical relationships, which may be consensual, it may not be consensual. So whenever we approaches these words, we have to be careful and look at what is the underlying Hebrew and Greek. Okay, it says you are not to do anything to the girl. There is no sin in the girl worthy of death. For just as a man rises up against his neighbor and murders him, so is the case. When he found her in the field, the betrothed girl cried out, but there was no one to save her. It says, if a man finds a girl who is a virgin, who is not betrothed, and he takes hold of her, it uses the word seizes here, but that's an unfortunate rendering of the Hebrew. He takes hold of her and has relations with her, and they discovered, then the man who had sexual relations with her shall give the girl father 50 shekels. Okay, notice it didn't say anything about her crying out. Okay, which means that this is referring to a consensual relationship.
Or it means both, right? I mean, either case, it could be both.
It's a consensual, it's a consensual relationship. Okay.
So okay, I'll agree, but where's the case of a man rapes this virgin? Where is that listed as a problem?
What passage are you talking about? I just read you
No. Right. No, I'm asking for a case where there is a virgin, she is not betrothed, and a man rapes her. Where is that listed as a problem?
Rape in the Pentateuch, okay, is punishable by death.
Where is that listed? That's what I'm looking for. Where is that?
Okay, I couldn't tell you off of hand right at the moment, but anyone who's read through the Pentateuch knows that rape is actual forcible rape is punishable by death. The bottom line here is this: was it your position that verse 28 is talking about that if a man forcibly rapes a young female or a virgin, okay, and she doesn't consent, that he would then be forced to marry her? Is that your understanding of the passage? Well, well, you're bastardizing the text.
All I need to do is find. You just said you made me go hunt down quotes for finding this. Could you find me the quote that shows that rape is punishable by death?
Sure. Just give me a second. I'll look it up on Google and I'll come up with it. But I'm just saying right here, verse 28 and 29 is not talking about forcible rape. It's talking about a consensual relationship. See, the problem is with the unfortunate the rendering of the word seizes. Okay, because when you look up in the Hebrew, it's referring to take hold of. And when it says take hold of, it has to be contextually understood. Is this forcible? So for example, what if in our modern society we say that a young man raped a teenage girl? Well, it may be a forcible attack, or it might be what we call statutory rape, where she was completely complicit. and she may have initiated the physical involvement herself, but it would still be under the law. So the point is this: atheists continue to shoot themselves in the foot whenever they cherry pick Bible verses, and they're not careful. Okay, they just go by a quick looking at the English translations, and they don't look at what a variety of translations say, nor do they go to not only just regular commentaries, but just online brief commentaries of people who've done the work to research this. So this passage is not actually talking about forcible rape.
So if I can, we have a long chapter going through every variation of woman is not married, woman is married, woman is engaged, woman is not engaged, woman is this, the guy, she says it's rape, she doesn't say it's rape. We have all those permutations. We get to the last one where it's like, well, if she's not married and a guy has sex with her, if it's rape, it's not rape, doesn't matter, she's going to marry him. So because it goes through all other permutations, it seems disingenuous to suggest that now suddenly we just got fluffy with, it could be rape, could be not rape. Even though we detailed out everything before this, suddenly the rape thing will be covered somewhere else.
Dude, listen to me. It's very clear in this passage, okay? When you understand the Hebrew word that is using there, this does not refer to rape.
Darth, I put that verse he was asking about in the Atheist Helpline.
Okay, thank you.
It's Deuteronomy 22:25. But if the man finds a girl who's betrothed in a field, and the man seizes her and rapes her, then only the man who raped her shall die.
Right, but that's if she's betrothed.
No, this is actually talking about a woman who is betrothed.
Right. So this is the case of the last one being the whole point is verse 28 is if a woman's a virgin and she's raped, not raped, doesn't really matter. Just pay the girl's father and take her. That's what the last one's saying. I go down the path of it could be rape or not rape is the same line.
No. Listen. Why are you atheists just so craven and pathological? Okay, I've just made it abundantly clear to you. Okay, other than going to the NIV, which people who are serious Bible students do not use the NIV. Okay, but even the New American Standard, which is for serious Bible students, the word "sees" there is too strong for the Hebrew. Okay, when you study the Old Testament, and I don't know Hebrew myself, but when I have looked into Hebrew, context is very, very important when you're dealing with passages in the Old Testament. Just like it is in any languages, but some languages are more context sensitive than others. Okay, so when it says "seize" here, it simply means to take hold of. Okay, which the context would have to indicate whether it was simply a seduction where the female was complicit or where she was not complicit. Okay,
or it could be all three.
No, listen to me. Listen. When we read the preceding verses before, right? Let me just look at the verses here, okay?
I'm saying it's either. They don't actually care if it was consensual or not.
Okay. Yeah, you guys are so craven. I mean, you're shockingly bad reason. Okay? This passage is clearly not talking about rape. What you're trying to do, do you know? No, it is not talking about rape. Do you know what the principle of charity is?
Yes, do you?
Okay, you're not practicing the principle of charity here. You are looking to impugn the Bible. Okay, now I perfectly understand that you find certain civil laws objectionable in the Bible. Okay, but this is not one of them that's going to pass the smell test. Okay, this is not talking about a forcible rape.
If I could just, though, you said there was a passage that said if a rapist should be stoned. Could you just find that passage for me that clarifies that? That'd be great.
It's already listed in these verses. Okay.
No, it's not. No. What about a woman who is raped, virgin that is raped, like a non-betrothed virgin that is raped? Where is that one?
Okay, let's see. If a man finds a girl who's betrothed, okay, that's not it. Let's see.
Darth, you were talking about how premarital sex is supposed to be a sin or something. I'm wondering, how do you come to that conclusion?
Why? Because of the God's covenant laws in the Old Testament and in the New Testament specify that sexual contact outside of the bonds of marriage is sin.
No, it doesn't.
Well, I mean, it's that last one just says
sexual
$50, right?
immorality in the Bible is defined in Leviticus 18, and you can read the whole chapter. It does not talk about premarital sex.
Hold on, I'm busy looking something up.
Yeah, the one that talks about a virgin, the one reference that Christ is King posted, it still doesn't say anything about rape at all. Because a violation can be considered consensual or not. Just because she consented to it doesn't mean he didn't violate her. So how is that necessitating rape in that verse to a virgin girl? It's not at all.
I'll stipulate it's not necessitated to be rape, but rape would be covered by that verse.
If you can't logically necessitate it, then you don't have any grounds to assert that it's saying rape, period.
I'm saying rape is covered by it. It's not that it's the entire thing,
Can't
but rape
you
would be covered by
logically
that.
necessitated that thing is talking about rape? Yes or no?
I say that it would, if I rape a virgin who is not betrothed, is it covered by that verse or not?
No, dude. Can you logically necessitate that verse is talking about rape?
Yes, I can.
No, you cannot. No, you cannot.
Be rape and not rape at the same time there. Yes.
No, sir. No, sir. Read it again. If a man finds a girl who is a virgin, who is not betrothed, and he seizes her and has sexual relations with her, and they are discovered, then the man who has sexual relations with her shall give the girl's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall become his wife because he has violated her. He is not allowed to divorce her all his days. Now, again, how does violation in that context mean rape, sir, necessarily?
I didn't say it necessarily meant rape. I said rape was covered by that as well as not rape.
Rape is covered by what?
If a guy rapes a virgin, would it or would it not fall under that clause?
No, I'm saying, is it saying that if she's a virgin and he rapes her, that he must marry her? It's not saying that.
If I walk into a store and walk out with a candy bar, have I stolen?
You cannot definitively say that's covering that at all.
I just said that. If I walked into a store and took out a candy bar and walked out with a candy bar, have I stolen?
If you do what? Say that again.
If I walk into a store and walk out with a candy bar, have I stolen?
If you walk it out with it, not necessarily. Did you pay for it?
So would theft be covered by a case of like, so is that situation and theft kind of like, see how they're kind of like, this is a really metaphor, but the concept there is the same situation can be two things.
No, I'm saying, look, this is what I'm talking about. I'm not denying that in a semantic way it could be either or, but you can't say one or the other. That's what I'm talking about. In a semantic sense, it can cover both, but in a necessary sense, it doesn't.
I don't even know what you're talking about. Of course, it's not necessary for that verse to be required rape. It could be both.
Do you know what semantic range is?
Yeah. Tell me about it.
You can have certain things that can imply one or two potential explanations. Like Darth uses this example all the time. Like a girl comes up to her father and says, "Can she's using the computer?" And then she says, "No one's using the computer right now." She walks away upset, and then goes back to her mother and says, "Can I?" And can she? She goes to her mother, and her mother tells her that her dad said she couldn't use the computer because no one's using it. Her mother goes back to the father and says, "Why'd you say she couldn't use the computer?" And then he tells the mother, like, "What are you talking about? I just said no one is using the computer." So when he said no one is using the computer, that could be either a command or a command not to use the computer, or it could be a description that nobody's on the computer. So it has a semantic range to imply that could cover either or situation, but it doesn't necessitate one or the other just off that semantic range alone.
Right. I agree with all of that. Yes. Agreed.
So
it does not have it did not so rape is covered, but it's not necessitated. I agree.
So semantically, I'm not gonna argue that it wouldn't cover that, but the point is, doesn't necessitate that they're suggesting that a virgin girl who's raped must become some dude's wife. No, it doesn't say that necessarily at all.
It does say that it necessitates that, because I don't see where else Darth is looking currently for the verse that says, but just by the side effect, all men that rape are going to be executed. That's what we're looking for currently.
I think the thing you're misunderstanding is
the hang up that you're having here is because it adds the clause if a woman is betrothed. Okay. The point is, it's just common sense that this if a man seizes a woman, takes hold of her, okay, and if the death penalty applies if she's unmarried but betrothed, then it would equally apply even if she wasn't betrothed. The only time it doesn't apply, okay, is if the sexual contact is consensual. The point is, you're making. You can laugh all you want. You can make a mountain out of a molehill. What you're doing classically is what atheists do. You cherry pick passages, and you don't use the principle of charity. You don't go into the Greek and Hebrew. You don't look at the context, and you're trying to misrepresent or exaggerate, so you can say, "Look at what the Bible opposes." Now, from your perspective as an atheist, you shouldn't find any problems with any activities, okay? Because in your world, there's no rhyme or reason, number one, why anything happens, and there's no rhyme or reason why any state of affairs or conduct on the part of anybody should be valued or devalued.
That's not true.
Oh, good. Then can you tell me then, what would be your final court of appeal that would make one state of affairs to be valued over another?
Society.
That's the fallacy, argumentum ad populum fallacy. Okay.
Okay. No, that's the issue is
that's okay. Listen to me. Did you hear what I just said?
Yes.
Okay. It's an argumentum ad populum. That is a fallacy.
That's not but that's not the argument I was presenting.
Okay. No. Yes. Listen to me. When you appeal to society, you're referring to either a plurality or a majority in a given society. That is covered under the Latin term for the fallacy of argumentum ad populum. It's called to the people.
No, that's not what I was doing, though.
Okay. What did you say, society?
You asked me.
Did you say society? Listen, dude, my patience is running out with you. Okay. When I ask a question, I am dead serious. Did you say society?
Yes.
Okay. Are you referring to either a plurality or a majority of people that favor certain mores?
Yes.
Good. Then that comes under the populum. Do you know what populum means? It means the people.
Okay, populum, yes, but not the fallacy.
Now, listen, dude, listen. You are on thin ice, okay? You do not have good critical thinking skills, and even if you did, you're abandoning them right now. You're simply being argumentative. Okay, the fact that one society may value
things are wrong because a bunch of people say so.
You're not understanding. Okay, because societies change their moral values, sometimes long term, sometimes short term. Okay, I'm almost 60. How old are you?
Does that matter?
Yes.
Does it matter?
How old are you?
Why does it matter?
I will ask you one more time.
49.
How old are you? Okay.
49.
Now, okay. You're 39?
49.
You're 49. Okay. So I only have a few years over you. You should surely understood the radical departure of social mores even over your lifespan. Okay? Did you grow up in America?
Yes.
Okay. Have the social mores radically changed, not only at an academic level, at a collegiate level, right? They've also radically changed in terms of the entertainment industry and in the political realm. Has there not been a radical change in people's views on mores?
Yes, there has.
Okay, so when you appeal to society, all you're simply referring to, okay, would be by what is socially fashionable in a given time.
Yes,
that is entirely relativistic.
Yes, it is. Totally agree.
Then it's rendered meaningless.
Oh, that's actually not meaningless. That's
no, it's
relevant.
Meaningless because it is not objectively grounded. All you're just simply saying is that a particular more that you espouse is to be valued above other states is because at a particular time in a culture, there's a plurality or a majority of people that favor that value judgment. That is subjective and is entirely relativistic.
There are some objective standards you can apply to that, but generally, yeah, that's actually I would go with that.
No, as an atheist, there cannot be any objective valuation.
Well, Darth,
wait. So
let me finish. You cannot defend. It will be impossible for you to defend that any value judgments, either by you as an individual or by a plurality of people, can be objectively grounded. Okay.
May I respond?
Sure.
So I will agree it's not absolute, but I disagree that it can't be objective.
Explain to me how a valuation of a particular state of affairs can be objective.
So my example would be fairness, and that if I say fairness is if you were randomly to be put into either person's shoes, you would be okay with the outcome. And under that objective answer, this is what
fairness. I mean, are you serious? I mean, are you just pulling my leg here, or are you serious?
I'm saying that's an objective standard.
Concept of fairness. Okay, where do you get fairness from? Why is fairness to be valued?
Because I would like to be treated certain ways. You would like to be treated certain ways. We kind of, as monkeys, monkeys, we actually kind of agree that we like to be treated the same way.
See, notice it all comes out. He believes he's a monkey. Okay. All you're just simply saying is, it's objective is because you personally emote that. So what?
No, sorry. It's objective because I can make the claim and other people can value if that claim is working or not. So that's what the objective means. It's external to me that they can judge it.
No. You're pulling the same ridiculous maneuver that Cosmic Skeptic did. When he was asked by a Muslim apologist, is rape objectively wrong? And he said yes, and he's asked him to explain it, and he says, we can show that our society has objectively made a determination, and that determination is that it's wrong. But you see, that's just simply smuggling in subjectivism and ad populum and saying that we can objectively determine a subjective agreement. Okay, it's not objective. Okay, objective means that something would be morally obligatory whether or not anyone agrees or disagrees with it. What you're saying is objective. You're saying it's objective on two counts. One, if you personally emote it, and two is if the more conforms and coheres to the populum.
See, I'm going to disagree with your statement, though, because I think you mean absolute morals, right? So if you said absolute, the morals exist without.
Did you hear me?
Yes,
did you hear me say?
And I don't agree with you.
Listen to me. Wow, you're a very poor interlocutor. Did you hear me say the word absolute?
No, I'm saying you should say absolute. That would make it more sense.
No. Well, you're not understanding. As an atheist, you're not in a position to instantiate that anything whatsoever is absolute.
I agree.
Good. Then don't use the word because it's fiction from your atheist worldview.
Yes, but you're using it as an absolute. That's what I'm saying. Your definition is an absolute.
Excuse me. Okay. It doesn't matter how I'm using the term. You were asked to show that a particular valuation, either by yourself or a plurality of people, is objectively binding.
Yes.
There is no. Why is if? What if tomorrow? Okay. What if in one generation, many people in the United States become Bible-believing Christians and they decide to outlaw homosexuality and put the death sentence on it? Would that therefore be objectively a right thing for them to do?
It wouldn't be, so it would be objectively a measurable thing. I don't know if I would want to adhere to those morals, but we would have an objective.
No, would it be objectively moral for that society to do that? What?
Oh.
I didn't hear you. That's the third time. All I hear is, ah!
No, it would not be.
Okay, well, now you're contradicting yourself because you told me that what is moral will be determined by society. But then if society, if the next generation that grows up becomes Bible-believing Christians, right? They decide that homosexuality is to be outlawed, then according to your view, then it would be objectively moral.
Yeah, and I guess you're right. In that sense, I would be immoral, and I'd be fine with that.
Okay, but therefore, what you are calling objectively moral is just whatever is socially fashionable in a time index or in a given generation. That is entirely relativistic.
I respond?
Yeah.
Okay. 100 years, it's very likely that people will be like, we shouldn't have animals on farms anymore, and we're going to go to either lab-grown meat or no meat at all. Hold on. As an example, giving an example.
Whoa. In 100 years, it's very likely we're not going. Wow. Do you have a crystal ball?
I'm giving an example. May I continue?
Are you a vegan?
No. I love bacon. Huge bacon fan.
Where do you look, as an atheist, see, this is what you don't understand, right? As an atheist, you have no capacity within your model of reality to make an objective determination of what is, can be, or cannot be, because you have nothing to appeal to.
But why I have to appeal to anything to do that?
Because in order to predicate, right, to make a determination of what is, can be, or cannot be, then you're going to have to appeal to at least the concept of identity over time. And identity over time, listen carefully, identity over time, okay, is a necessary precondition for predication, right? That identity over, you know what? You are completely clueless. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. Do you know what identity over time is?
In something in the sense of this will stay fixed as a point forever as a fact?
Okay. Do you not realize that identity over time is an absolute necessity in order to intelligibly predicate?
What do you mean by identity over time?
Okay. You don't understand what that means?
I I have a different definition of objective morality than you do, so apparently I don't understand what identity over time means.
Wow, you happen to be probably in the top echelon of worst interlocutors that I've encountered on Discord. You have no capacity to focus. Maybe it's not an inability. Maybe you're purposely doing that. Okay. Now, do you know what is meant by identity over time?
I do not.
Then, if you don't know what it means, then why are you objecting to it?
I can still predict what's going to happen.
Dude, listen to me. You are an effing train wreck. You are an argumentative person. You have terrible listening skills and you have terrible reasoning skills. You were just objecting to something that you just admitted you have no idea what it is. Is that correct?
Okay. That's correct.
Okay, which means you're an argumentative person. You're not debating. You're just being a contrarian. You're not debating and conversing in good faith. Now, identity over time means that some things stay the same while other things change. Without the fact that some things stay the same while other things change, you couldn't intelligibly say anything at all, including the sky is blue or the dog is wagging his tail. So do you understand that so far?
So far, so good.
Okay. Now, so do you understand the necessity of identity over time to human intelligibility and predication?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in your atheistic worldview, as opposed to the Christian worldview, in order to understand why your worldview and its capacity or its complete incapacity to reason and to predicate, you have to in order to understand your worldview, you have to understand what you don't believe. Okay? So you do not believe that what is fundamental to reality, what is ultimate and foundational, is a mind, what we call God, who has instituted an array of unimaginable particulars, and that God, that mind, has also imposed unity among diversity. Okay? And he's also imposed and secured identity over time, so that some things are regular and some things are not. Okay? So God is what imposes the particulars. He imposes and secures the unity among the diversity of the particulars, and he imposes the regularity while permitting some irregularity. But you don't believe that scenario. So my question for you is this, okay? Is the regularity that you must believe in order to predicate, in order to speak intelligibly, is the regularity real, or is it simply illusory because of happenstance?
It's observed. What would that fall under?
Okay. Is it real or not real?
It's observed. What would that fall under?
Okay. Is it real or not real?
It would be real if observed counts as real, then I'll count it as real.
If the regularity is real as opposed to the illusion of regularity of happenstance, then that means that the regularity must be imposed and secured. Either the regularity itself must be absolute and immutable, or there must be something that is absolute, ultimate, and immutable that instantiates and sustains the regularity. Otherwise, you cannot differentiate whether the putative regularity is real or fiction. But you said it's real. So I want to know is what it is that is absolute and immutable that makes the regularity real.
Universe.
Okay. Yeah. Did everybody hear that? This is the go-to response that almost every atheist goes to because they don't know what else to say. Now,
material
that
universe?
is okay, listen, no, you're not understanding, okay? When you say the universe, you're talking about the totality of all that exists.
Yes.
So I'm trying to explain this in terms that you can understand. This is an incoherent response. Okay. The universe is an abstract set of a collection of particulars. Okay?
Oh.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Okay. Oh, so the universe is a concrete one?
Yes. It's a material of all of the particles in the. It's all 10 to the 80th particles.
You're not understanding. Okay. You are confusing terminology that unify the particulars, and you are reifying the terms that unify abstractly the particulars. Do you know what reification is?
These are all in our heads, right?
Do you know what reification is?
No.
Reification is where we have an abstract reasoning to get a handle on certain things, particulars, right?
Okay.
But the abstraction itself is not concrete. It's a conceptual phenomenon. Okay.
Yes.
Now, when you talk about the universe, people, because of the materialism that has prevailed over the last couple of generations, people have succumbed to reifying the word universe. Okay. If the universe is actually one thing, then its oneness will either be concrete, or it'll be simply conceptual and abstract. So which is it?
Universe itself is concrete. Our mind, our concept of it is in our heads. It's conceptual.
You're not understanding. Okay, is the universe a concrete one or a concrete many?
Is it made up of one thing?
Is it one? Is it an absolute concrete one, or is the universe composed of a concrete many?
All of the particles in the universe is the universe.
Listen carefully. See, you're not a good listener. Listen, do I sound like I'm not educated on this issue?
Yeah, you do, but keep going.
Okay, then what you need to stop doing is to stop being argumentative, where you make yourself look foolish when you're in over your heads and you're out of your league. Okay? Now, if the universe is a concrete one, right, then you cannot talk about particulars and distinctions, because there would only be, listen to me, because I said a concrete one. Now, if you want to talk about it being an abstract one, that would be a different story. Is the universe a concrete one or an abstract one?
I don't understand the distinction.
An abstract would be a mental conceptualization trying to group particulars that are not concretely unified into a conceptual one, into a abstract one. Okay, it's what we call a set.
Yes.
Now
we have that concept in our heads. Yes.
Okay, so is the universe a concrete one or a concrete many?
Our word of universe in our heads is a concrete one.
Okay, all right, dude, you're clueless at this point. You don't know what you're talking about, nor are you understanding what I'm saying.
No one believes all the sun, moon, and stars are one thing, dude.
Listen to me.
They're different things.
Listen to me. Are the distinctions of all the particulars that you say are contained within what you call the universe, are those distinctions real? And do those particulars have identity unto themselves?
Apparently, our measurements say so. So yes.
No, I'm not talking about an abstract identity. I mean a concrete identity where
like a measurable one.
That are there certain distinctions that are discrete and independent from other distinctions and particulars within the set of the universe?
Measurable things in the universe. Yes, we have measurable things in the universe.
Okay. So now what you're talking about as a universe is you're talking about a collection or a set of particulars. You're calling the set of the particulars the universe. Okay.
So that's our minds have concept that.
Right, yes, then it couldn't be a concrete one. It would be a concrete many.
Okay.
All right. Now, the problem here is that when you say the universe, what you're saying is the reason why some things stay regular. Like, for example, let's say halfway across the visible universe, there are certain things that are regular from moment to moment, day to day, while other things are irregular. Okay? Is it all the members of the particulars of the set in the universe? that are in all of them individually collectively, that are imposing the regularity of a single particular halfway across the universe?
Nothing's imposing it.
Excuse me?
Nothing's imposing it.
No, you said the universe is.
You
said the universe. The question was, where am I getting my regularity from? And it's the universe
listen
itself.
to me. Do you have? Listen, I'm not trying to be mean here, but I do have to be assertive. Do you have any realization at how inept you are on this subject?
No, I'm actually that inept.
It's okay to not know things.
Yeah,
but don't
it's
act
okay.
like you
It's
do.
okay. It's okay not to know stuff. Okay. Now, you said the universe, okay, whatever that is, it imposes each and every instance in every time index of regularity. So that means that each of the individual particulars that make up the set of the universe, every single particular collectively, is imposing the regularity of one thing that is halfway across the visible universe.
See, I don't believe I actually said that.
Yes, no. What you said necessarily commits you to that.
I don't believe that that's even true.
Okay, then you simply don't know what you're talking about then. The universe is a term that collectivizes in an abstraction a set of all the real and discrete particulars in existence from a materialistic perspective.
Yes.
Okay? Now, when I ask you, is that for any given regularity that we point to, that it's a discrete regularity, either by itself or in conjunction with other regularities, I want to know why each and every regularity in a time index is regular.
It would be that our observations of the universe seem to indicate that that is how we can perceive it and have regularity. So it's our observations.
What
If
you just said,
yeah.
Listen to me. What you just said was complete gobbledygook.
You're gonna have to give him the dice example, Darth. He doesn't understand.
Listen, what you just said was, there was nothing there. What you just said, it was substantiveless. It was just empty rhetoric. Listen carefully, okay? If I were to isolate any particular instance or state of affairs that is regular from one time index to another, it could be a second.
How would you know it was regular?
Okay, that's not the issue. Okay, now listen.
It is.
Carefully.
That's exactly my issue. How would you know it was regular?
Do you have any self-awareness that you are just an argumentative person? I'm trying to teach you something here, and all you're simply I'm trying to teach you something, and you're being belligerent. Okay, listen carefully. That's not what we're discussing. See, this is what you're classically doing, and this is what atheists are prone to doing. It's where what they do is when they get caught where they don't know what they're talking about, then they start to argue about anything and everything in order to derail and stalemate the conversation. Now, you believe that regularity is real as opposed to an illusion. And you believe that there are multiple instances of regularity within the universe. Since you do not believe that God is creator and that he imposes the unity among diversity, he imposes the regularities that are there, and he sustains them along with allowing irregularities. For any specific instance of regularity, what is it that secures that it's regular as opposed to it's simply an illusion?
Nothing. It's an observation, right? We basic our models off of observations.
Okay, you're repeating what you just said a minute ago. Did you not hear me say that what you just said was mumbo jumbo? It's non-substantive. I'm not asking you about human observations. I'm asking you is, what is it ontologically that imposes any sequence of regularity? Human observation at this juncture is not relevant to the question.
Not?
What is it that imposes that some things are in actuality regular, as opposed to it's pure happenstance and coincidence?
I don't understand why there has to be something imposing it.
Because then the regularity okay, would be illusory.
Oh,
there would be no reason. There would be no reason by this similarity or apparent regularity in the past, and there would be no reason to expect it to continue into the present and into the future.
Don't
if
have
there's
reason
some,
to believe it.
then if you
But
don't
you
have
do
a
believe it. You do
So
believe it.
I believe I don't have proof of it. It could totally
okay,
change. I could be very
okay,
wrong.
listen to me. Listen. When you make value judgments, you're doing so because you have a belief that you can stipulate what is, can be, or cannot be. In order for you to do that, all right, you at least have to have a grounding of identity over time and the regularity of the world. Okay, it's called the principle of continuity alongside of the principle of discontinuity. Now, either the regularity is real and the identity over time is real, allowing for intelligibility, or it is not real, that the superficial similarity from one moment to the next, time index next, is just purely coincidental. There's nothing meaningful or related in one time index to another when certain things appear to be regular, as opposed to they're regular because something is imposing it. Okay? Now, which do you believe?
So A, it could be both, but B is the question is I don't understand
sir,
why it
it's
has
telling
to be imposed.
me listen to me.
I'm missing the imposed part.
This is the problem. This is how mentally deranged so many of you atheists are. I just asked you a straightforward question, and the answers that you gave me were simply circuitous. Listen carefully. The regularities that you believe in, are they real or are they an illusion?
Is that a true dichotomy?
Yes.
No. That's not a true dichotomy. It's either
Okay,
real or not real.
Listen to me. You are a 39-year-old man. You
39.
are
39.
Excuse me,
49.
39, right?
49.
Okay, that's even worse. Excuse me. That makes it even worse.
It's like you're wallowing in your ignorance.
Listen, you are 49 years old and you are being belligerent and argumentative with me like you were a snot-nosed 15-year-old who didn't get his morning Ritalin. That's how bad you're doing here, right? You should be ashamed of yourself the way you're conducting in this conversation. And yes, I am confrontational when people like you behave very badly. Now, either the regularity is real or it is not real.
It is real.
Okay. Now, if it is real, then something is imposing and securing that continuity. Either
wait.
overtalk me again and you're gone from the server. Because I'm tired of your obstructionist tactics. I don't mind when people vigorously disagree in debate, but you are using it as a tactic. Now, you believe that the regularity of existence and identity over time is real. Now, if nothing is imposing it, then it's not real.
Oh, why does that follow?
Because then each successive moment of similarity would simply be pure happenstance.
It would be happening for no reason.
And there would be no reason whatsoever why anything was similar or apparently regular. Okay? Do you understand the difference between appearance and it being actual? If I could show you a picture right now of two young women, and you and other people would easily conclude, if you met them in real life, that they were identical twins or fraternal twins because of they strikingly look the same. But in actuality, the fact that they look identical is happenstance and was not imposed by being sisters or close relatives. Okay? So there's an appearance of regularity and similarity, but it was pure happenstance. Okay? When I say pure, I don't mean that their genetics weren't involved. What I mean is it wasn't imposed by being close family members. Okay? Now, you believe that the regularity is real. The regularity can only be real is if it is imposed by something that the regularity itself is either immutable in itself and is not subject to change, or there is something else that is imposing the regularity. If nothing is deemed to be imposing the regularity, then the regularity is entirely illusory and superficial, because there's no rhyme or reason in any time index why they appear to be the same. Okay, are we clear?
To respond?
Okay, there's nothing controversial to what I said. Do you accept what I just said?
No.
Okay, bye-bye. You're gone. You're a moron. Okay. So we're dealing with a 49-year-old man who has the mind of a pot-smoking teenager, and I'll bet you anything he smokes pot. So I had enough of his being just simply argumentative. So he's gone.
Darth, I thought you said that you don't mute or kick people for disagreeing with you.
I don't.
You just did.
No, that is incorrect. He was kicked for being belligerent and argumentative. He was not kicked because he disagreed with me. Obviously, you are clueless to understand the difference. Okay? He was being, do you know what a contrarian is?
Yes.
Okay, that's what he was doing. What I was explaining to him should have been, from his perspective, completely non-controversial. But people who are argumentative and contrarians, they will take even uncontroversial propositions and just argue about them, because that way they can stalemate the conversation where it leads to nowhere. Okay? And the bottom line, he wasn't even satisfied in the passage. He got all hung up because it says, oh, if a woman was betrothed, okay, it's a young virgin who's betrothed, okay? Okay, it makes no difference whether she's betrothed or not. It just so happens it adds that clause, okay? So because there's not a separate verse that says, if there is an unbetrothed woman and a man seizes her and she cries out, then he'll be stoned. Well, it's already covered under the principle, okay, that if a man takes hold of, if you will, a woman who's betrothed, it's talking about a woman who is not promiscuous. She's not married yet. It just happens to add that she's betrothed. Right? He's just looking to smear the biblical content. He's not operating in good faith. He's just trying to cherry pick and run with it. But my point to him was, he's not in a position to make any value judgments whatsoever. Because in his world, he can't determine what is, can be, or cannot be, because he doesn't know if the regularity is real or if anything imposes it. And then when I asked him what imposes it, he says the universe. So every single discrete particular that is collectively a part of the universe makes something that is regular halfway across the universe, like, let's say, like an asteroid that's orbiting a planet, because that asteroid orbits that planet regularly. The only reason why it orbits that planet is because every single particular in the entire universe is somehow imposing the regularity of that asteroid. That's asinine. This is why when you ask them what imposes it, they go, reality, the universe, because they don't know what else to say. Okay?
Darth, is that a user that keeps piping in 106?
Yeah.
The Unitarian.
Yeah, 106. My fingernails grow every day, right? So my fingernails are regular, right? So does every particular in the universe all collectively participate and impose the regularity of my fingernails growing?
No, that would be ridiculous.
Okay, good. Well, then he's an idiot when he says the universe does that, because the universe is a collectivized term. It's a single term trying to unify all of the particulars. Right? So it's stupid. I mean, it's asinine to say all the members, all the particulars of the set known as the universe are imposing each and every instance of regularity. For every discrete regularity is imposed by every other particular in the universe. Where do you get that from?
Sounds like pantheism to me.
No, he's a dumb atheist materialist, and he said the universe because he doesn't know what else to say. Because if he didn't say universe, he would just say reality, meaning that's just the way things are.
Oh, you definitely had the patience of a saint with that guy, and as it was drawn out, you could see that he was just contrary and exposed, and that he was way over his head. I don't think he understood half of it. Just wanted to just be argumentative. Great job.
The word universe, according to Wikipedia, is borrowing from the Old French univers, from the Latin universum, meaning all things as a whole. Okay? So the universe is not a concrete one. It's an abstract one. Here, this is from the etymology online. The universe, the whole world, the cosmos, the totality of existing things. Okay? So the word universe is an abstraction which attempts to quantify conceptually as a one the set of all independent and discrete particulars. Okay? The Latin universum, all things, everybody, all people, the whole world. Noun, use of neuter, adjective, universus, all together, all in one, whole, entire, relating to all. Okay? How many of you want to make a bet that that 49-year-old was a pothead?
The whole universe thing just makes me believe
I gotta make a phone
he might
call.
be a pothead, you know. Universe, bro. Universe. Yeah, also that attempt to start a debate between me and Darth failed horribly, dude.
Oh, is that what you think happened?
Yeah, it's obvious.
Oh, okay.
You said, who's a Unitarian? It's obvious you were trying to start something.
Oh, I was just pointing out that you twist scripture as well.
Yo, what's up, guys?
How are you doing?
I'm pretty good.
That's good.
I had a question for the room.
Shoot.
What's that?
I said, go ahead.
It's not a question everyone's going to welcome, but it's a serious question. And me and Darth usually get along, and we're both Christians, and I respect his intellect. He respects mine. I feel like he has an intellectual obligation when somebody challenges presuppositional apologetics to really deal with it. And I feel like he's avoiding that debate. And if he was here, when he comes back, I'll ask him directly. But I would be willing to give him a debate of his choice of moderator with 2 times the time I get. Like, I really want to hash out whether precept versus traditional approaches to Christianity are which is the correct method. Because you could be doing real damage to Christianity if you're a precept or if you're a traditional apologist, if you're doing it wrong, right? So I feel like this debate ought to happen, and I'm willing to give him his own choice of moderator, his own special time. I don't even care if anyone records it. Like,
I feel like you'd take that debate. I mean, like, most people in this server are like addicted to debating. It's like a drug for them.
Yeah, if you think 106, do you think I was being unreasonable when I removed him?
A bit, yeah.
Wow, you're delusional, dude.
Hey, Darth, before you toss me, can I ask you a serious question?
Do
Like a real serious Christian question?
Yeah, you can ask one question, then I'll toss you.
Yeah, so I feel like it's your intellectual obligation as a Christian. I'm a Christian. Like, I feel like you really need to defend precept. Like, I'm not coming at you with like crazy arguments. Like, I'm willing to let you have your own moderator twice the time I have. Like, this is important to Christianity, and I feel like you have an intellectual obligation to defend yourself.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the discussion over presuppositional apologetics, whether it's legitimate or not, whether it's good argumentation for Christianity. I don't care if it's a half hour, an hour, or 2 hours. I'll give you every advantage you want.
What are you objecting?
I have deep objections to the presuppositional method. I think it doesn't work.
Okay, good. Give it to me.
Right. So I was trying to do this with you yesterday. I think that it's very easy to show that whatever attributes you think are specific to the Christian revelation or the Bible.
I have somebody at the door. Hold on. I have somebody at the door. Hold on.
Sure, take your time.
B3, you're going to be kicked in about 5 minutes.
That's okay. I mean, I'm doing the best I can, you know.
No. I know you are, but it's just my prediction. But best of luck.
Just
I consider Darth extremely intelligent, so I respect what Darth does. And...
Just agree with everything he says, and you'll be fine. You guys know Mr. Batman?
Mr. What?
Mr. Batman.
Mr. Batman's off on his own planet. Let him be.
Yeah, he muted me for 5 minutes.
I feel like all the pre-suppers are getting a lot nicer over time.
Oh,
as they weed
the
out like
polar
legitimate trolls.
opposite,
They're
dude.
getting nicer.
It's the polar opposite. You know, it's like victimhood. They feel they've been trolled too much, so they're just all bitter old men now.
Yeah, but as they get rid of the trolls, they're nicer to everyone else. Because there are trolls. It just so happens I'm not a troll, so.
We'll see what Darth has to say about
See how it
that.
goes. I would like this to be moderated by somebody on Darth's side. 2 or 3 minutes to him, 1 to me.
So you don't want a neutral moderator?
No, as long as they hold the time fair, I don't want them to be neutral. Same deal.
So
Same thing I told Dyer.
You want to fight in uphill battle, or like
Absolutely.
That's what it sounds to me.
Absolutely.
What's your reasoning for doing that?
Because
all right, I'm back. So what's your objection?
Yeah, so we spoke briefly yesterday, and I've developed a few scenarios where I think it shows that precept can't be true, and I wanted to draw them out. And we got off on the wrong foot, or I was annoyed, or you were annoyed. But I really want to see your response to these, because maybe I'm wrong. You know, like I could be dead wrong.
I'm listening.
All right. So your basic claim is that the Christian revelation, in particular, is necessary for grounding of rationality, intelligibility, the truth of all truths and all fact claims, right?
No, I said the existence of God is what is necessary for actuality and intelligibility.
Well, I agree with that.
Well, then how are you going to posit God?
Well, I think we can know God innately. We can know God through reason, and we can also know God through various different forms of revelation.
Well, that's biblical presuppositionalism.
See, here's where maybe I'm misunderstanding your position. Like maybe I'm wrong. Like you could be right. You're a smart guy. Like I know you're very intelligent. So my impression is that you think that without the biblical Christian revelation, somebody cannot have a proper grounding for the rationality and intelligibility.
No, is when we do not acknowledge that God is and that he has revealed himself through natural revelation and through the course of human history, there will be no worldview to ground intelligibility. There will be no identifiable, defensible ontology to which to refer to.
But where does Christianity come into this? I see this as a theism, like a basic theism.
No, theism requires specificity. That specificity about God is going to have to come revelationally. And God's revelation is much broader than him guiding the writers of the Bible to write certain things down. It is everything you look at is a revelation of God. And so we start with God's natural revelation, okay? And that also includes our innate knowledge as well as the outward knowledge that we have just simply by looking at creation, that all of the things that we see in creation necessarily indicate an absolute and an ultimate. And whatever that ultimate and absolute is will have to be in mind. Otherwise, then there would be no reason to believe in anything.
Well, what precludes somebody who has never heard the Christian revelation from having that?
The Christian revelation begins in Genesis 1:1 in creation. You're just thinking that it pertains only to the New Testament or the Old Testament. The Christian revelation begins when God created
everything you see. Everything in the world is God's revelation.
Yeah.
I agree with that too. Like I think nature is theophany. I think nature is typological of God's revelation. I agree with that.
I have a question about that. Actually, interject.
I don't have a problem if you ask the question, but we're trying to go back and forth. But if you it's up to Darth, it's his room.
No, just wait. 106. Go ahead, B3.
So if I understand you properly, like someone like Abraham or someone like Adam, just by speaking to God, they had a proper grounding for their worldview, and I don't see why a person who never heard the Christian revelation in the modern day couldn't also have a proper grounding for intelligibility, rationality,
you're flip flopping. The Christian revelation starts in Genesis 1. Okay, it starts with the very creation. Christianity did not start.
By the way, they do have a grounding. People who don't believe in God do have a grounding. It's just they don't accept it. They don't accept that that's the world they live in. So they're going to have to explain how they have a grounding in their world.
Well, I'm trying to pay attention to two lines of thought here. So,
all right, sorry.
When Adam opened up his eyes and he saw the grass blowing in the wind, that's a revelation of God. When Adam looked at his fingernails, that was a revelation. Everything Adam looked at was a revelation of God. Okay. Romans 1, ever since the beginning of the creation of the world, God's eternal properties and attributes have been clearly seen through what has been made so that men are without excuse. So we have natural revelation. But sinful man suppresses that. And then, because the sinful human being wants to facilitate his autonomy of reason, he then turns and worships creation in order to provide a sanctuary for his autonomy. Because, why am I hearing somebody's mic?
That's probably me. Hold on.
So you think that the Christian revelation started what with John the Baptist and Jesus' ministry? No, it started as when Adam and Eve looked around and they saw God's creation.
I agree with you. I say
this is why you will frequently hear me say God's revelatory actions, okay, which include his creation. Okay.
Well, I'm in agreement with you that as Christians we hold that revelation started from the very beginning and fulfilled itself in Christianity, but there are people on this earth who don't have that. They don't have the Christian story.
Again, you're limiting Christianity simply to the New Testament. Christianity started in Genesis 1:1, sir.
So are you positing the idea that everybody who has natural revelation is a Christian?
Where'd you get that from?
Well, I may have made an error in inference, but it sounds like you're saying that, like, if Adam had it.
Have you read any introductory books to biblical presuppositionalism?
I can't say I've read a whole book presuppositionalism. No.
Have you looked at one?
Well, you sent me Pratt's book, and I browsed through it. I read the intro.
What book?
I think it was from Pratt.
Did you read it?
I read the intro and I skimmed a lot of it, but I don't want to feel.
So the answer is no.
Well, I don't want to feel guilty for not completing the whole book yet. I'm still in it, you know.
Well, you finish reading the book and then you get back to me with your objections because you don't know what you're talking about.
So is that how it goes? If I haven't read everything on your reading list, like we can't talk?
I didn't say that. But,
I mean, there's a lot of books I've read that you haven't read, right?
That's not the issue. It's that your very objections reveal that you don't have a basic understanding to biblical presuppositional apologetics.
Well, look, let me put it this way: if you want to like draw the line in the sand that if I haven't read these books, we can't discuss this, that's fair. That's fine.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, if you're just sit there going to make these shooting from the hip objections, at least do so with a better understanding of biblical presuppositional apologetics than you have. You just simply don't have a basic understanding. At least you should have if you've been listening to me.
But I'm under the impression that you think that people in the current world who don't have Christianity cannot properly ground their intelligibility or reason. Like, that's my impression of your view. If that's false, disabuse me of that notion.
Okay. We can only ground intelligibility in the one true God who has progressively revealed himself. To what God are they going to appeal to?
Well, I feel there's only one God, but people have a different aspect of revelation based on what they know.
The point is this: when we talk about God, we're saying that God ontologically must exist with a specific character set. And God has revealed himself through creation, right? So when people don't acknowledge the ontological God of the Bible, they don't have grounds for intelligibility. But then if somebody comes along and they say, oh, well, I believe in God, say, okay, well, what kind of God do you believe in?
Yeah, but if some Catholic or Eastern Orthodox or Muslim comes to you and says, I believe in God, I have grounding for my intelligibility and rationality, like, you're supposed to be coming back at them and saying, no, you don't, because you don't have the full set of these properties. So what is the minimal...
The God of Islam is not coherent. The God of Islam contradicts himself. The God of Islam is not always truth revealing. The God of Islam is not a God that has all great making properties. Okay? And that's clear from studying the Quran. So you're going to have a God that is, have you ever heard of perfect being theology? It means God is the greatest conceivable being, that the qualities that he possesses are better to have than to. Right? So the God of Islam doesn't possess these qualities, in spite of the fact that Muslims have a misunderstanding and think that he does. He doesn't.
Okay? Well, I agree with you that there are problems.
Now, when it comes to Eastern Orthodoxy and Catholicism, right? They and more specifically Catholicism, they don't take a biblical presuppositional approach to grounding the existence of God. In Catholicism, they are pretty much or strictly Thomistic. They follow Thomas Aquinas, right? Now, Aquinas was a very smart guy, and some of his ways can be formulated in a biblical presuppositional manner. But at the end of the day, as far as I know, I'm not an expert on him, right? He basically was reasoning that God probably exists, or that God is the best explanation of why anything exists, and the God of the Bible is probably or the best explanation of the God that probably exists. Okay?
That's where I stand now. Yeah.
Good. Well, that's unbiblical.
But okay. I thought we were already in agreement.
Because the God of the Bible is not. He doesn't probably exist. The God of the Bible is the God who necessarily cannot not exist.
But I thought we were already in agreement that Adam and Abraham
is the God of the Bible one who cannot not exist. It is impossible. It is impossible for God not to exist. Do you accept that?
I would say, yeah, I would agree with you that it's impossible for God to not exist.
Okay, then it is fallacious then to argue that God is the best explanation of why anything exists. or that God probably exists.
But
because the God of the Bible does not probably exist.
But we're slipping back and forth. Like, I have no problem with the claim that God cannot not exist, or cannot. I have no problem with that claim. But
you just told me you just told me you accept Thomistic apologetics.
Well, where I'm getting confused here is you're adding the word
Did you just
Bible.
Did you just tell me you accept that God is the best explanation and that God probably exists?
The Thomistic proofs are deductive proofs. They're absolute.
Okay. Listen to me. Why is it that whenever I ask you a question, you give me an evasive response?
I don't feel that was evasive because Thomas Aquinas said these are absolutely deductive truths.
No, here's the problem. Does Thomas Aquinas start with the revelation of God?
He does.
Where?
Contra Gentiles, Summa Theologica. He starts with the revelation.
You're generalizing. Can you give me some in his 5 ways?
He may start with it in his mind, but his arguments do not.
Yeah, his arguments are not starting. Okay, let me ask you this question. Okay. Do we come to know or reason that God exists based upon probabilistic grounds? Or can we only come to know that God exists if and only if we are receiving revelation from God?
I would say that Aquinas said that.
Okay. If you evade another question, I'm going to kick you out of the room. I asked you a very specific. I didn't ask you, but listen to me. Do we come to know that God is in terms of a discursive process where we reason that God has the greatest probability of existing and that he is the best explanation of why anything exists at all? Or okay, we're done. You have focus problems. Okay?
But why? Why?
He can't do anything without arguing.
He didn't take his morning. He didn't take his Ritalin.
There is. And then he gets wigged out. He goes and he'll just start cursing you out because you're good. It's a good thing you kicked him because he'll just start calling you names and everything.
I didn't kick him from the server. I removed him from the VC.
You booted him from the I know, but I'm just saying he's.
Don't come back. Don't come back for a couple of hours. Okay, you're just an argumentative tool.
You're worse than anybody's nightmare. And then he wonders why nobody likes him.
Ban me if you have a problem. You're not answering.
Did I just tell you not to come back in again?
If you can't engage, just ban me. I'm not interested in this bullshit.
B3. You're the one who's engaging in the BS. Every time I try to explain something to you and then ask you a question in order to have a teaching moment with you because you said you want to understand, you argue with everything I say, which means you're not interested in learning, okay?
I didn't even have a syllable. I did not even have a syllable out before you interrupted.
You won't answer a question. It's simple. Yes or no. Yes or no. And you can't do it.
I had a presuppositional question for you, Darth.
Well, maybe he doesn't know a lot about Thomistic lines of argumentation. Maybe he doesn't know presuppositionalism or Thomistic.
You talking about B3?
Yeah, the question I was going to ask was, is there overall intelligibility on day one of creation, or would it be more with the coming of Christ as the light of the world and the closing of canon?
So, Darth, back to my question. Are you a young Earth creationist?
Is my mic coming in, by the way?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Ricky, do you got a answer to that by chance?
I would say it was sufficient at the time.
Hey, sorry, man. I'm in and out. I'm doing something, so I just chip in every now and then. But what did you say? Intelligent? It would become when God created the world.
Yeah. Was overall intelligibility accomplished day one of creation, or would you say the coming of Christ in the? Because it seems like there's definitely progressive revelation happening. Coming of Christ as the light of the world, who reveals a lot of other stuff that previously wasn't understood. And the closing of canon with the apostles also. I was just curious the guys' view on that.
I would say it was sufficient for what was needed at the time, and there would be more progressive as it was needed.
Yeah, it seems like there's definitely, from Romans 1, we see that definitely there's enough to show that God exists and that there is eternal power in Godhead, that people are without excuse. But I was just wondering, in light of Christ coming, it's not like we could just say that, well, he didn't really tell us anything to understand. He brought a wealth of revelation, and it referred to him being the light of the world. It seems like total intelligibility would have been accomplished through him, along with everything else he's accomplished, but he's the light of the world, and men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil. That he revealed things about the nature of reality, and even being the ultimate, define himself as the ultimate, by closing his without it's in a clearer way that it seems like you can see the shadows and archetypes in the Old Testament, but just was curious because I haven't read the material like some of you guys have. I was wondering if that was ever best or.
Yeah, there would be comprehensibility for our world because of God's attributes when He created it. The attributes were just unrevealed
Until the coming of Christ and the closing of canon.
Some of the attribute, not all of them, but some of them would have been unrevealed with Christ. Would be revealed with Christ's coming.
It seems like there's, at least we can say, there's more clarification in the New Testament, like upholding all things by the power of His will. Maybe you can find that, by implication, Genesis, but it's clarified. Things seem to be clarified in the New.
Yo, Mog.
Hello. Does this work?
Excuse me, what did you say?
Does this work? Do you hear me?
It works, but you're awful loud. I think you need to turn down your mic a little bit.
Is this too much? Is this too loud?
No.
I just think that John 14:6 would be the good answer to all who don't know what is truth and life. There is no debate about the truth in that statement by Jesus Christ, Son of God, Son of Almighty God. There is no debate about it. He says who is truth and life. I don't know why you don't bring this up in this conversation.
He does. When he talks about Jesus as being, or when he talks about the ultimate, that's Jesus. And you can't have truth without an ultimate reference or context for the dependent facts. Jesus would be the reference point.
What about Gospel of John 1:1? In the beginning was a God. In the beginning was a Word, and He was with God, and He was God.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. He's the ultimate context for all the things that were created. All the facts that are created rely upon an ultimate context. Christ to revelatory. Sure. But we do talk about Jesus as being the truth, and without him, you can't have any truth.
Truth Speller, do you think hell is a literal place?
Yeah.
Jesus thought it was a literal place.
It's a literal place with a literal punishment.
Yester doesn't say that.
Who?
Matt Yester.
Oh yeah, he thinks it's a literal place. You might think that some of the scriptatory things in the Bible may not, that they may be scriptatory of something else, but it's a literal place, literal punishment.
Yeah, when it talks about fire and brimstone and those things, it may not necessarily mean fire as per se. It may not mean brimstone as per se, but it is going to be worse than. I mean, it's going to be fire without light. So you're going to burn. So the description of fire is going to be different, or the pain that is going to be in there is going to be different than even what you can imagine from a fire.
That's right. Turn or burn.
Truth Speller, what are soul ties?
All right, I was over here across the room here. What did you say?
I said, do you believe in soul ties?
What is it specifically?
When two people become one flesh.
As in the Bible? There's this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to look into what you're talking about. Where are you getting this from?
Marriage.
Yeah, because it's also taught in like spiritualism stuff. I don't know if you're meaning like in the Bible or...
In the Bible, in the contextual meaning of marriage in the Bible, to what extent is it spiritual?
Well, there's a somehow there's a connection in the spirit where people are unified. Like it says, whoever's joined to the Lord is one spirit with him.
Yeah, so what does that mean?
Just what I just said. Somehow, the nature of, I can't see my spirit, I can't see your spirit, but it says whoever's joined to the Lord is one spirit with him. When Jesus said, Father, I and them, you and me, that they may be perfected in unity, and that the world may know that you sent me and have loved them, even as you loved me. That we're perfected. The King James says, Father, I and them, you and me, that they may be perfected as one.
No, I'm talking about marriage. I'm not talking about our relationship.
Right, but that's how the Bible talks about how we're connected to Christ. We're married to him. Like brothers and sisters, you've died to the law through the body of the Lord Jesus Christ, that you might be married to another.
I'm talking about marriage.
Yada. Please, you do this all the time. You talk over and you have this sort of whiny way of asking questions. I'm trying to answer you. I'm trying to answer you. Dude, I'm trying to answer you. There is a spiritual marriage union with believers with Christ, where he has become their spiritual husband. They're united in the spirit with him. How it all looks, I don't know, because I don't have eyes to see what God can see in the spirit.
Guess what? That's not what I'm asking.
Oh, that's the parallel that the Bible gives between the same union that like a husband and wife might have. And how that all looks behind the scenes in the spiritual realm, I don't know, because I don't have the eyes of God.
I'm talking about marriage with a wife, a spouse, like in real life, like on earth. I'm not talking about marriage with Christ.
Well, it's already by default. Like my wife, we got married as Christians. The Bible says, "He that's joined to the Lord is one spirit with him," which means I'm joined to the Lord, one spirit with God. My wife is joined to the, so we're all one spirit with God, and so are millions of believers, or billions throughout time. How that all looks behind the scenes in the spirit, I don't know, because I don't have the eyes of God. I believe his word. There is a connection and a unifying of the spirit with God as believers, that they're all at one. Father, I and them, you and me, that they may be perfected as one.
Yeah.
You either believe what God says, or you don't. And then if you're like, well, I can't picture it, I can't picture it for you.
All right. What's the difference between the spiritual union in a marriage, physical marriage, like, between you and your wife, versus the spiritual union between a marriage with you and Christ? Truth speller.
You mean well, different in the personalities that I'm dealing with? I don't know exactly what you mean.
So you know how the Bible says
my wife, I have a different relationship with my wife than I do with the Lord, but we're still unified in the spirit of God.
Okay, never mind.
Are you asking the question as a Christian?
Yeah.
So you don't understand the difference between. You're asking about a difference between spiritual marriage to God and physical marriage to another person.
Let me think. In a way, yeah, I guess.
Okay. Marriage between a man and a woman is a foreshadowing of our relationship between us and the bridegroom. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, in a spiritual relationship between the bridegroom and the bride, there's also a spiritual relationship between husband and wife. It's not the same because one of us is, one of us is not perfect, but it is to be a foreshadowing of what the relationship is to be like.
That answers my question. Thank you. I guess True Speller just didn't understand my question.
Well, yeah, like I said, you do this where you get real whiny when you ask questions, and I give you biblical responses. It's just that you're not happy when I can't tie all the loose ends for you, how it looks in the spiritual realm. I told you all believers are unified in the spirit, connected and one with him.
No, Tim told me something you didn't that I was looking for.
Well, that's fine, and I'm glad he did. And he's
But he didn't tell you any. But he didn't tell you anything that True Speller didn't tell you anything that I didn't tell.
Yeah, why are you throwing jabs at True Speller?
I'm not. I was just saying that you answered my question.
Yes, you were. Don't lie.
Yeah. It was the way that you said, well, he measured up to where you couldn't. Well, that's fine. I tried my best, and I know that other people can answer questions better than me at times. So I was glad that he stepped in, especially if your question got answered. But I think the problem is when I pointed out that you're whiny when you ask these questions, you kind of have to do that on a continual basis. That's what you got kind of hurt about. I wasn't trying to hurt your feelings, but you do that.
Here's a question that I have to ask. All right, how long have you been a Christian?
My whole life.
Do you attend church on a regular basis?
I attend church 4 days a week.
4 days a week. Really?
That didn't make you a Christian.
Christian.
So do you hold on? Do you have a pastor?
Yeah.
Have you ever asked him this question?
No, it wasn't of that much importance.
You've been a Christian since day one of birth?
I grew up in a Christian home, but I accepted Christ when I was like 8.
How old are you now?
Let's just say I'm in my 20s.
That's a more specific answer.
What specific denomination do you go to, or what denomination will be closest to the church you attend?
Reformed.
What?
I'm a Reformed Christian.
Yeah, I've never heard of a Reformed denomination. Just Reformed. What is?
Are you Presbyterian, Baptist?
I would consider myself like more towards the evangelical side.
I don't exactly. I'm trying to get this because this really doesn't sound like it's adding up. Okay,
it's not.
You say I'm a Christian and you say I'm Reformed. All right. So on the outside of your church, what does it say?
Well, my church is called House of Prayer.
And the whole church is Reformed?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the comments section in the YouTube channel. And Digital Hammurabi, who's actually that guy, what's his name? who the atheist now in love with, who's actually studied Hebrew, says that I'm incorrect. But the fact of the matter is he's incorrect in spite of the fact that he has studied Hebrew. Okay? I just looked it up in lexicon. And the Hebrew word in certain contexts means to forcibly seize. But in other passages, it simply means to take hold of. Okay? And so words have to be determined by not just an appeal to a lexicon, but to context. Right? So the guy who studies Hebrew, who's an atheist, says I'm incorrect. But when I look it up in the interlinear BibleHub.com and I go to Strong's Concordance, we find out that the word is used in a variety of ways. Okay? And he says I'm incorrect.
Tim, what doesn't add up about me?
Well, I mean, just the question that you asked seemed very basic.
Seemed very basic.
Yeah. And then when he was quoting from scripture, you seemed to get a little perturbed on it, but I don't know.
Yeah, because I felt like it didn't answer my question.
So what's the relevance to your question?
What you said.
What?
What you said.
No, I'm asking now that you had your question answered, what was the relevance in your life to that? Yeah. What are you gleaning out of that for your own personal?
Well, I don't know. I was just thinking about marriage, and then I was thinking about what marriage is compared to the marriage with Christ, and then I asked a question. So what doesn't add up?
I don't know. We just have a lot of people that come in here asking questions. For me, it just seemed odd. I've been wrong before.
Yeah, there's a lot of LARPers.
So Yada, what confession would you say you're closely related to? What do you go by?
In terms of like denomination?
No, confession. What confession does your church go by?
Like confessing our sins to God and repenting.
So how long have you been reformed?
About a couple years.
Mm-hmm. So do you know what a confession is?
When you confess your sins to God.
Nope.
What is
it? Are you familiar with the Westminster Confession or the London Baptist Confession of 1689?
No.
What about Charles Spurgeon? Are you familiar with him?
Yeah.
So being Reformed, you're a Calvinist. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am beginning to think you're trolling. You were in here the other night arguing against Calvinism. And yeah, it says you're Reformed, but the way you were talking the other night, you were completely unaware of what it even teaches.
Yeah, you say you go to a Reformed church and have been going there for a number of years, and you don't know what confession is or what confession they follow, or if they don't follow a confession. Most Reformed churches will have a confession that they follow.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I think Yada has exposed himself here. The other night, and I'm sure there was maybe someone else that was with me, but Yada, you were completely unaware of what Reformed teaching even is. You argue tooth and nail against predestination and sovereign grace.
No, I was not. That was just me asking some questions I had about Calvinism.
Yeah, but you say you say you're a Calvinist, but you were the whole time saying, "Well, I don't accept that. I'm going to have to go back." And you were arguing free will the whole time. Remember?
No, I was just asking what was will. What is the definition of the Bible?
Okay, Yada. Let me ask you this: what does the T in tulip stand for?
Oh, what?
What does the T in tulip stand for?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
What does the T in tulip stand for?
The T in
tulip. The word tulip. Oh, now you're going to look it up. Good job.
Yeah, I heard him Google it. Yeah, Yada,
you're exposed. You're exposed. You're not Reformed. You know what you're not a Christian. If you're Reformed, you could say that. You could say that in your sleep. My 3-year-old granddaughter, when we're talking about confessions, if we talk about the tea and tulip, she knows what it is because she's been talked about it. So you're a liar.
Because I don't know about certain aspects of
No, because you're lying. That's why we're pinning you to the carpet. You're lying about being Reformed. Anyone who's a Calvinist or Reformed for 10 minutes would know that. You're a liar.
How? What?
You're a liar, and you know you're lying. That's why you're so incensed.
I'm not lying.
You Googled it. You Googled tulip really quick.
I can have
the reason why
I heard your fingers hitting the keyboard as I talked. I heard it. You're such a liar. If you didn't answer that within 30 seconds, most non-Reformed people can answer that.
So and it was interesting because hold on. It sounded like 5 quick types because you typed in tulip really fast.
Yeah, I typed
so that you could appear as though you understood what we were talking about. That's a form of deception.
Yeah, you're not a Christian. You don't go to church 4 days a week.
I do.
You're a lying person. You're a liar.
Just because
I've never heard of a Reformed church being called the House of Prayer. Okay, so. You send me a link to your church or a church of that denomination, and I want to look on it, and I'll tell it. And if it doesn't say Reformed, we'll know who's telling the truth.
Well, I think there is an R.C. Sproul thing that's named after that, so he just might have took something from some name that he heard, but he's definitely been causing some deception here.
No, usually the House of Prayer is like a charismatic or something from a college. Most of the House of Prayers, International House of Prayer, is probably what he's thinking of. He probably saw it on campus or somewhere.
Missouri. I don't live in Missouri. I live in Connecticut.
International House of Prayer has churches all over the place, so you don't know what you're talking about. But thanks for playing the game.
They're not connected. The church I go to is not connected to that one.
Okay, what's the sixth book in the New Testament?
Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans.
You had to go through that. You couldn't just tell me. See, this is so just a joke. I mean, do you do a lot of drugs? Do you have brain damage? Is there something going on that makes your mind not as
I've
sharp as it
never
should be?
had drugs in my life nor drank in my life.
Well, I'm just asking because the way you talk, the way you slur things, the way you have to look it up. I sense a lot of deception. This is why when you ask, when I said it doesn't add up, this is what happens. Is you don't add up.
Yeah, you say you've been a believer for over 11, 12 years now, going to church all this time, 4 times a week, and you're reformed, but yet I wish I could play autoplay back on the conversation we had, how you were arguing for free will and acted like you didn't understand the propositions of predestination and stuff.
No, I do understand predestination, and I'm not against it. It was just some questions that had arose from that I had questioned myself, and that's why I asked you about it, to help me in my belief revolving that point of Calvinism.
Oh, you remember you left the conversation abruptly, like right when I was talking, you left it like in the. That's how upset you were by the proclamation of a. Hold on, that's how upset you were of the proclamations of a denomination you say you hold to.
No, I left because bro Joe or Josiah had wanted to talk to me. He called me and I answered him, and I had to leave.
All right, I got to step away for a second.
So Tim, you don't think I'm a Christian just because I don't understand fully what a Reformed Christian is? Like all the aspects to it?